Welcome in, everybody, for another edition of Alabama Football Head-to-Head, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Excited to be joining Matt Stahl today, Simone Eli. Just a couple of weeks remain in the college football regular season. Alabama been on a roll, but is there any concern right now for this Crimson Tide team? We're going to break it all down as the Tide welcome in Oklahoma. It's the 2:30 game on Saturday. Many eyes will be on the Sooners and the Tide. Kind of a situation where both teams, Matt, maybe a little bit different situations, as Oklahoma looks to try to win out, be a part of that playoff conversation. But Alabama certainly can't afford any slip-ups at any point as they move forward in the month of November.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're Alabama, you probably have one more mulligan left. I mean, you blew one against Florida State in week one. The SEC spent the entire offseason complaining about the playoff selection process. They got what they wanted. So, there's a world where you make it as a 9-3 SEC team this year, but you're going to need some help for that to happen. So if you need to be 10-2 or better if you're Alabama, and you still got to go to Auburn.
Yeah.
So, weird stuff happens there. So, yeah, behooves Alabama to win this game for sure.
Weird stuff definitely happens there at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Of course, Alabama will welcome in Oklahoma. The Iron Bowl is just around the corner for this Tide team. Matt, Alabama beat LSU, but it's not like there was a ton of things that happened on the field that were really impressive outside of the defense, of course. When you think about what Kane Wommack's crew has been able to do kind of week in and week out, what are some of the biggest concerns for this team right now when it comes to what we're seeing with Kalen DeBoer offensively? We've heard from him saying, hey, we can be even better. Some would argue there have been moments they've been better than what they are right now offensively.
Yeah, well, the run game's not been good all season. It didn't look good against LSU, especially. I think you got 34 yards total from running backs in that game.
Yeah.
And that's just a combination of things, right? The offensive line having real trouble with run blocking. Some of that probably stems from running out just an enormous rotation, never really settling into five guys there. Nobody's stepped up and forced themselves into just keeping it at five guys. And your deep passing game was bad too. Like Ty Simpson and his receivers just didn't look. I guess they had one right before the half to Latsier Brooks, but beyond that, just looked way out of sync. That's not what you want. So yeah, some real offensive questions, I think, entering this game against an Oklahoma team with a pretty solid defense.
Yeah, the line right now, and I'm not a big betting person, I'm really not, but a friend of mine who is well versed in this tells me when the line doesn't make sense, go with what doesn't make sense. And right now, at least as of this recording, we're looking at 5.5 points, and it opened at 7.5 as Alabama as a favorite. I'm not sure how well versed you are in this sort of thing, but again, that's usually not a good trend for somebody somewhere in Vegas knows that, hey, this could be a battle down to the end there in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, it's just a bad matchup, I think, for Alabama. And it's one where if Alabama can get through this one, you'll believe in them a lot more, I think. And it's sort of similar to the Vanderbilt game, sort of similar to the South Carolina game, really, where it's a game where maybe last year, they lost to Oklahoma, to a wildly different Oklahoma team last year, wildly different Alabama team last year. But it's a really, really good defense. It's a run game that's good too for Oklahoma, and Alabama's had a lot of trouble stopping that kind of all season. But that's gotten better. It's Alabama's run game that's really been the struggle offensively. So if Alabama's offense is going to need to find another gear here, they're needing to find some stuff that works against probably the best defense they faced all season, potentially the best defense they will face all season. This Oklahoma defense is really, really good. So yeah, it's not on paper. It's a real spot where Alabama could find itself getting upset at home. But that's why you play the games, I suppose.
Brent Venables is well known by Alabama fans, whether they knew it or not. Of course, he was defensive coordinator there at Clemson for a long time. Now he's the head coach at Oklahoma, and he's often had good defensive units, just didn't really have the offense to go with it. We know that John Mateer has been a guy who's stepped up and kind of stepped into that role despite his injury early in the season for Oklahoma. When you look at the defensive unit, like you mentioned, Matt, this game a year ago was one that Bama fans are looking to just completely put in the rear view. There's no question about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the offense just it was terrible in that game. They were, yeah. Oh, it was a game Alabama felt like it should have won. I think it's a game Alabama probably overlooked. And
Oh yeah,
then, yeah, Brent Venables and company scheme something up. And it's a little different Oklahoma defense this year, right?
yeah,
Beyond just, I mean, personnel changes and all of that, Brent Venables is calling the defensive plays this year. Like he's taken a
sure.
much more active role in the defense, and that's not necessarily good if you're playing Oklahoma. That man is
Yeah,
he's a pretty good defensive coordinator,
good play call, no doubt.
as evidenced by what happened at Clemson. You know, he hasn't forgotten how to do any of that. They sort of changed the structure at Oklahoma this year. Bring in Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl to be
Yep,
the
GM.
general
Yeah,
manager there, run sort of the player personnel
yeah.
uh, side of things. So less of that for Brent to do. And yeah, it seems like he's doing what he's good at this year.
It's a strange model, but Jim Nagy is certainly a good guy for it, given the fact that he's been evaluating college football talent for pretty much his entire career. Matt Stahl, we created the new the Cattle Drive Out of Town segment brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. What fan, player, coach, what have you, will the Crimson Tide look to drive out of town when Oklahoma comes to Tuscaloosa this weekend?
So it's to me, and this is like the very obvious answer, right? It's John Mateer, the quarterback,
Yeah.
sort of in the same vein as last year, right? Jackson Arnold could run a little bit. I mean, he has not
Mm-hmm.
made good on that at Auburn this season, but he was really, really good against Alabama last year.
Sure.
They couldn't stop him
Yeah.
on third down. He was running all over the place. Mateer, sort of same vein. You know, Alabama, the entire DeBoer, Womack. I mean, even sort of getting back into the late Saban years, right? They had
True. Yeah.
they had a lot of trouble stopping mobile quarterbacks, and that's been better this season. You know, Diego Pavia didn't go nuts, but Mateer's again kind of the
Literally
mold
or
of a guy.
figuratively.
Yeah, well, and we're
Yeah.
not going to talk about Diego Pavia here. That's a top tier college
No
quarterback,
doubt.
but
Amen.
Mateer, he's the same genre of quarterback. I think who's given Alabama a lot of trouble in the past. He might do it again here.
Yeah, great analysis, Matt. Great insight, no question about it. When you think about a prediction for this game, it's a hard game to choose. There's no doubt. What do you think score-wise this one could be for Oklahoma and Alabama, given a 5.5-point spread? It sits at right now as of this recording.
Yeah, I think this is a matchup I'm going to need to see it from Alabama in before I could really believe in them against a defense of this quality. Uh, let's go 17-14 Oklahoma.
Wow. All right. So Matt is saying that it's going to be the Sooners coming into Bryant-Denny and getting it done. I like a 24-21 Alabama gets it done. Maybe that's a little bit of hope, a little bit of the fan in me wanting to see the Crimson Tide continue to roll, and so we can have an Iron Bowl that has all of the headlines as it always does. So with Alabama with everything to lose and Auburn looking to stay alive, so to speak. But we'll see. I think it's going to be a good game regardless. I think the line is the line for a good reason. Will we see an upset at Bryant-Denny? A 2:30 kickoff there in Tuscaloosa. Looking forward to that game. Matt Stahl, appreciate your insights, sir. We're looking forward to this one, man.
Yep, anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, this has been Head-to-Head Alabama Football, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. We appreciate their support all year long, and we will see you next week.
Brought to you by Alabama Beef Farmers and Ranchers.